on Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024. Call this regular meeting of the Kinsville Independent School District to order. We'll have a roll call. Joe Morales. Here. Martine Chapa. Here. David Garcia. Here. Joseph Reese. Here. James Glusing. Here. Delma Salinas. Here. Ryan Kufal is here. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with Government Code Chapter 551, State of Texas Open Meetings Act. We will move now to the moment of silence, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On honor of the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting will be live video streamed. We move now to item number 4, which is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? So moved. Motion made by Mr. Ruiz.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Salinas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item number 5, public participation. Do we have anyone who wishes to address the board?
No, sir.
We move now to item number 6, communication from administration. Item 6A is the superintendent's update. We'll cover calendar update, CNI spotlight, and an ADA update. Calendar update, Dr. Pettis.
Good evening, everyone. The calendar update, right now what we're doing is we're visiting every campus. I wanted y'all to be aware of that. We're attending your faculty meetings. And we're going into more specifics, a little bit more specifics about option 2. It's a possibility because that's the one that has the most questions. And our finance department and HR department, they're working on creating the work year calendar for every single category of employees. And so that way they'll have their exact minutes that they have to work every week. And we're gonna send that out again. This will be sometime late next week. And then we'll put it out again, just in case they wanna change their mind and change to a different vote. But right now, it seems like we're having great meetings. We only have 2 more schools to go to, and that's Harvey and H.M. King. And we'll be there this week and next week. So that's it for the calendar, okay? Next thing is something we love to do, and that is spotlighting some of the great examples of instruction that are going on throughout the district. Dr. Farah and the CNI team and Dr. Bessanize, they've all been seeing so many nuggets of excellence. And we wish we could show them all, but we're trying to invite like 2 at a time. So without further ado, Dr. Farah.
Good evening, Board President Kufal, Dr. Bettis, board members. I'm very excited to announce 2 of our teachers that are doing amazing work. We're going to start with our Gillette Middle School teacher, Miss Tijarina. Come on up. And her student, Miss Tijarina, is a 7th and 8th grade reading language arts teacher. She does a phenomenal job, not only encouraging her students academically, but socially. Her classroom, you walk in and you're seeing anchor charts on the wall. Students are interactive and talking, and it's a pleasure to be in a middle school classroom and seeing all of the communication happening at the school. So Ms. Tijarina. Hello, everybody, board members, superintendent. Yes, I am a 7th and 8th grade teacher at Gillette Middle School, my 3rd year there, and I've learned that if I show the kids what I want them to do and I'm modeling, that they're gonna do a great job of learning and they're going to do their part. So I have with me Jeff Cooper today. He's an example and a great example of what I'm trying to teach my kids as far as speaking up and advocating for themselves, participating in class, and learning all the tools that we're trying to teach them for the STAR test. So here's Jeff Cooper.
Hello, Superintendent and board members. I just want to say Miss Tadina has taught me so many things about ELA this year. She's just been so helpful with everything, teaching me how to cite more evidence from the text, teaching me how to write better, and teaching me how to just be a better person overall. So, thank you.
The principal? Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, our next student is Jalaisha Alanis, and she is a student from Harrell Elementary in 3rd grade. Her teacher is Miss Alanis and Miss Ramirez. Miss Alanis is out sick today, and so she wasn't able to come, but we still wanted to honor her student. So Jalaisha, you want to come on up? So she is a 3rd grade student. She's very sweet. She tries her best, and she participates in class. She's also memorized her multiplication grid, and she is really good with fractions. She's also improved in her reading language arts throughout this school year, so we are very proud of you. Thank you for coming. Do you want to say something? I'm going to lower it.
I'm very proud that she teaches me so I can learn and go to college.
Oh, I'm so excited. Do you know what you want to do in college? What do you want to be? You want to be a model? Well, you're on your way, man. You're beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And Dr. Isagiri will come and take a picture with you and the superintendent. Come on up, sweetie.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. You're so bright. I love it.
Isn't she adorable?
Yes. Congratulations. Great job. That was good. Your first photo shoot.
Just want to say thank you to all of our staff for the hard work that they are doing during this time. And we can't wait to highlight more of our students and our staff. Thank you.
I'd like Dr. Isagiri just to share a little bit about what she saw in that class. Okay.
So Ursula Alanis is one of our 3rd grade teachers at Harrell, and she's also the team lead for 3rd grade. And as we do walkthroughs, we like to showcase some of the things that we're seeing and then offer our other teachers the opportunity to come and observe our teachers. And she's one of our teachers that we highlighted this week because when she teaches language arts, she's teaching language arts. She takes one story that they're supposed to read as per the curriculum pacing guide, and she is not just teaching reading, but she teaches grammar. Like they were reading the story and she'll stop at the end of the paragraph and she'll say, I see 3 words in there that have ED after the word. What does that mean? They'll say past tense. All right. Which words are they? And so then they have to point them out. Then she'll read the paragraph again or the second paragraph and she'll say, I notice that there's several words in there that have a suffix. Which words have suffixes? They raise their hand, they answer the questions. Then they were talking, it was a story about Jack and the Beanstalk, but it had a different spin on it. It was like, I don't know, I think it was like, what was the story about the beanstalk, Jalesa? Was it Maria or who was it do you remember? What was the name of the little girl that was selling the seeds? Do you remember the name of the little girl? No, you don't. Anyway, it was Maria. We'll just go with Maria. So she was selling. It was a Jack and the Beanstalk spin, and so the mom tells the little girl that she has to go barter, right? And so she asks the students, what does that mean? And so they were able to tell her. And she says, you know how y'all bring she brings it home so they can understand. She goes, you know how y'all bring Pokemon cards to school to trade with your friends, even though they're not supposed to. And they're like, and they're like, well, that's what she was doing. She's bartering, right? She's trading just like you do when you bring your Pokemon cards to school. So, she's bringing that experience, on a personal level and making those connections for them. And so it's just, and then after all of that, she did a writing assignment. And so she has the questions that they have to ask at the end of the story, which are the
TDQs.
Thank you.
Text-dependent
The
questions.
text-dependent questions. So she has that. So then they're writing, because they have to do that on the STAR 2.0, but it's also a useful tool as they become adults. And so she has them answering those questions as well. So she just weaves all of those pieces into a story that they have to be able to read and comprehend, that day. And so we've already had some teachers ask to observe her. And so we're going to make it available, have someone cover their class and make it available so that they can go and watch Miss Alanis do a lesson. Right now, she's lost her voice, and that's why she was out today. Because of her teaching.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Usually
Thank
she
you all.
wasn't able to make it, but we wanted to make sure and give her some kudos.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, the next update is our ADA update. We're going to call up Mr. Eric Gonzalez again. Thank you to our teachers for coming tonight and our students. We really appreciate it.
Mr. President, Dr. Perez, trustees. Enrollment right now is at 2,589. It only changed 3.
Is it on the screen?
No, it's not on the
Okay,
screen.
just have the handout?
Yes, just a handout. I apologize. HMK is at 916, Gillette's at 453, Harvey's at 530, Harrell at 305, and Perez at 385. One of the new information we have today is that we spoke about last week. We spoke a lot about withdrawals and tracking them and where they go, and it kind of makes it seem sometimes like, oh, everybody's sleeping. Well, no, we have kids coming in throughout the whole year, and as you can see there, we kind of indicated some of the schools around the area that we've received students from. As you can see, Jubilee 89, Rivera 49, CCISD 36, and of course this is throughout the district. High school to elementary. Bishop 38, 22, Ricardo 22, Westoso 2, Robstown 3, Toloso 6. And of course, we have non-surrounding areas, which is like Austin, Houston, just everywhere else, but around the area. So we have we have kids coming in as well. So last time if I gave you kind of the impression like we're just losing kids, it's not that way. I mean, we have kids leaving and come, and we had kids coming. So that's where we're at right now. The second page is an answer to Mr. Mireles. Last time you asked about where are the kids, what are they doing, how they're doing now. Yeah. And as you can see at Gillette, when we started July 31st, and we had 147 kids to look for. From those 147 kids, 26 of those kids have withdrawn to go to another district or a homeschool, but 8 of those are the only ones that have not gone anywhere else. So right now there would be a leaver 98, which is pretty good from 147. The 26, most of them went somewhere. They're being homeschooled. They have a good code. And when I say good code, a good leaver code. And of course, that's what helps us get our dropout rate down. We make sure that they're at the school they said they were going to, or they got homeschooled, or they're doing something productive to get that good code. If they don't enroll anywhere, of course, it's a code 98, which is a dropout. But again, they're a dropout right now. It doesn't mean they're going to be dropout when school starts, because we can get them back, or we can encourage them to go get a GED, or we can encourage them to enroll online. Okay, so, but the good news from that is from the 147, we still got 121 still in school. Okay, at Gillette, from the 120, we got 108 still in school. Okay, and only 3 that are code 98, lever code 98. So of course, it's a little bit easier to get a junior high student back to school. You know, like I think I said it last week or last time, where an 18-year-old is gonna be tough to get him back to school. You know, he's set in his ways, he's working, but we should be able to recover those 3 kids from the junior high. Pretty confident about that, pretty much 100%. So that's where we're at right now, Mr. Mireles.
Thank you.
Okay. Next page is attendance. We're still overall at 91. HM King still is at 88. Gillette 92, which they're doing well. Harrell 93, Harvey 93, and Perez 92 for a total of 91%. We do have some, if you go to the maybe in 2 pages, it's been affecting us here lately, actually for a while, maybe for the month and a half. As you, I don't know if you guys were watching the news last night, where it's saying RSV, flu, COVID is on the rise. And Corpus Christi ranks 5th in the nation in flu and all that stuff. So we need to get past that. You know, we need to get past that. We're trying the best. The schools are trying their best. And when I speak to the attendance clerks, it's about, sir, they're throwing up. Sir, they got fever. And, you know, kudos to the kids that they're coming in and then we have to send them home, you know. But that's what the attendance clerks tell us. I missed this page, the ADA comparison to last year. We're 2 percentage points above. So we're doing better than last year, but we need to be doing better. We need to be doing better. The truancy court dates is the next page. We have truancy court here on the 23rd, which is in there too, and next week with Judge Gutierrez on the 29th. Those are moving. Systems getting better. Schools are sending me their folders. That way I can go and take them to the court. Again, I told the attendance clerks that the court clerks will open up the folder and go, or where's a letter, or where's the attendance contract? And I have to point it out, like right here, it's indicated right here. So they are looking for procedures to be followed at the school. So, and we're doing that. The next page, it's some good news. In talking to Maria Cantu, our PIMS person, she let us know yesterday that we did not trigger a leaver review this year. We were audited last year for some students, and this year I'm really proud because of course it was a team effort with the attendance clerks, my department, CIS, everybody, you know, to get the system in place. And they, like this year, we're not going to get audited. There's not going to be a review. They took everything we did, and they let us know that there's not going to be any review this year. So that's the presentation. Any questions? Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. All right. Being no questions, we're going to move now to item 6B, which is the budget recap report, check register for January 2024. This can be found on pages 4 to 10 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal, Dr. Bettis, members of the board. At the top of the check register, you see that Direct Energy was for 2 months. If you go down to about the middle of the first page, you see ECS Southwest. They are an independent vendor that we have verifying the soil conditioning is done correctly. Bainan is working on the track right now, but again, it's very prudent to have an independent vendor making sure that they are making sure that the soil settles correctly. And I will take any other questions that you have on the rest of the check register.
Dr. Pitts, that ECS,
Yes, sir.
that's aside from what we already were gonna pay the contractor for the track?
Correct. It altogether,
Those services were not included?
those services, it's an independent vendor, completely separate, which you want to have to make sure that they're doing a good job. Altogether, total cost will be about $20,000 for that service, but right now this is partial payment for services done to this point.
Which was not included in the actual bid for the track?
Correct.
Any other questions on the check register?
Would you happen to know the completion date? It's not about the check register, but the completion date on the track.
Well,
We had bad weather, I know, but,
let me defer to Mike Davila on that.
Good afternoon. I'm not going to give you a certain date, but we're shooting for it because I can't control the weather. I talked to the man upstairs a lot about the weather, but he
I saw you in this house worshiping the other day.
yes, sir. But I would say the end of the last week of March. Tomorrow actually we start with the asphalt, and that'll cure for 20 days, 20 to 25 days, and then after that we spray the track surface, and then we're rocking.
As long as it's not raining.
Yes.
Is the turf next?
I just want Dr. Pettis to make sure that she sprints down. She said she was going to run 100, so she'll be the first person running 100 there.
The chair is iron. We're all gonna run.
You got it.
Or Brave Bulls.
There you go.
Thanks, Boyd.
Running
Yes,
us wolves.
All right, if there's no other questions regarding the check register, we'll move on to item number 7, which is new business. Item 7A, discussion and possible action regarding Educational Diagnosticians Week proclamation. This can be found on page 11 and 12 of our packet. Mrs. Amy Sandoval.
Hello, good evening, board members and Dr. Bettis. I'm here to present the proclamation for Educational Diagnosticians Week. It's celebrated the week of March 4th through 8th, and it is in observation and recognition of our diagnosticians that work here in the district. And I'll go ahead and I'll read what the proclamation does state. Oops. Whereas our children's success in Texas, whereas our children's success is Texas's success. As such, it is our responsibility to ensure that young Texans are empowered with the skills, thank you, I'm short, sorry, with the skills and knowledge necessary to realize their full potential. This goal would not be possible without the invaluable contributions of our educators and also other professionals in our field of education. Whereas educational diagnosticians, we work closely with children, parents, and fellow professionals who identify and evaluate a student's individual needs. By using comprehensive academic assessments, psychological and aptitude tests, educational diagnosticians are able to help advise on teaching approaches and materials necessary to best ensure that young Texans are provided the education and skills fundamental to their lifelong experience. Whereas to highlight that the many contributions of educational diagnosticians, an awareness campaign will be conducted during the month of March. Whereas Texas has no higher priority than education, and I encourage all Texans to recognize the outstanding role of our educational diagnosticians. Through their focus on young Texans, they are ensuring an even brighter future for the Texas of tomorrow. Whereas Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, has proclaimed statewide recognition of diagnosticians, and therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Kingsville Independent School District hereby proclaim the week of March 4th through 8th, 2024 as Educational Diagnosticians Week.
All right, Board, you've heard the proclamation regarding the Educational Diagnosticians Week. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Motion made by Ms. Salinas. Seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Do we have any diagnosticians here tonight that we'd like to recognize?
Yes, we do. We have Deborah Garcia. She is from our Ferris Elementary campus. And then we have Mrs. Sonia Barrera Segovia. She is from Harvey campus. We do have 3 other diagnosticians in our district who couldn't be here today, but they had other obligations. At HMK High School, we have Carmen, Dr. Carmen Van Kratz. At Gillette, we have Audrey de la Paz, and at Harold Elementary, we do have Maria Lopez.
All right, board, we now move to item 7B, discussion and possible action regarding National School Breakfast Week proclamation. This can be found on page 13 and 14 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. I'm going to read the proclamation. Again, we know that our food service staff, they are ones that have direct contact with students, and they have the opportunity every day, just like our bus drivers and our teachers and everybody else, to make a difference in every child. And of course, they nourish all of our children as well. I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas child nutrition professionals contribute to the well-being of students, preparing nutritious meal component offerings, which incorporate TDA recommended limits of fat, salt, and sugar, while providing increased fiber through fresh fruit, vegetables, and whole grains. For many students, school food service provides the only source of regular meals. And whereas school food service professionals recognize that a hungry child cannot concentrate and will not learn effectively. And whereas March 4th through 8th, 2024 has been designated National School Breakfast Week. And whereas our citizens should continue to support the school breakfast and lunch meal programs, which provide all our students with the opportunity to consume a warm school meal so that they may perform successfully in the classroom. And whereas a continuous and combined effort must be made by parents, schools, and the community to work together to acknowledge the significance of the school lunch program every day. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Trustees of the Kingsville Independent School District, make a commitment to the school lunch and breakfast programs and urge all citizens to join the support and recognize the importance of ensuring that school children obtain a nutritious, well-balanced breakfast every day by visiting their local school classrooms. Hereby proclaim the week of March 4th through 8th, 2024 as National School Breakfast Week.
All right, board, you've heard the proclamation regarding National School Breakfast Week. Is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ruiz. I'll second. Seconded by Mr. Glusing. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Pitts. Item 7C, discussion and possible action regarding Texas Public Schools Week proclamation. This can be found on page 15 to 16 of our packet. Dr. Bessenice.
Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, and Dr. Bettis. The week of March 4th through the 8th, 2024 has been designated as the Texas Public Schools Week. I will read the following proclamation. Whereas the students of our state's public schools hold the promise of successful future in their capable hands, and whereas the Kingsville Independent School District provides the tools, framework, and solid foundation that is vital toward the future of our children, and whereas the dedicated efforts of parents, educators, and community leaders will provide the necessary support and strength to our public schools, providing our children a quality education, and whereas students will attain a higher level of achievement because of the commitment to excellence and focus on continued improvement in our public schools, and therefore be it resolved that all citizens are encouraged to reaffirm their commitment to public schools. We do hereby proclaim March 4th through the 8th, 2024 as the week to celebrate Texas public schools. We urge all citizens to support the theme, the clear choice of education, by taking the time to share with others why they choose public school education.
All right, board, you've heard the proclamation presented regarding Public Schools Week. Is there a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Garcia, seconded by Ms. Salinas. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Bessenice. Item 7D, discussion and possible action regarding the renewal of the district's property, casualty, and active shooter insurances. This can be found on page 17 to 48 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you, Mr. Kufal. Our current property and casualty insurance expires February 29th. So the renewal period we're looking at is for a period of 1 year from March of 2024 to February of 2025. Peter Model is here from Carlisle Insurance, and he is going to present what the different coverages are for and what our options are.
Good evening, board members, president, and superintendent. Thank you for having me. What I'm presenting is we have two options that it was narrowed down to two options. There are 3 columns there which are impossible to read, but I think it's in your handouts as well. The first one is the expiring program, and then we have 2 renewal programs. The main difference between these programs is that on the expiring one, you're currently insuring $15 million worth of property insurance. Now with that, the premium was about $1.4 million last year. And so what we're proposing in order to mitigate the premium is to insure a lower loss limit. So we're going down to $15 million of coverage for any one loss. Now with that, there are 2 options at that loss limit. There's one that includes what I would call excess flood, and another one that's without excess flood. Considering that you also have a flood coverage for the primary layer on about 16 buildings, and most of those are at $500,000 for the building, $500,000 for the contents, and that's through the NFIP policy. And then option 1 does not have that, does not cover a flood over that amount, whereas option 2 does have an excess flood in there, but it's an additional $100,000. So with that being said, in history of your sort of flooding in the area, we feel comfortable with the flood, removing the flood at just doing without the excess flood, just keeping the base flood in place. Now I'll open up to questions. I know there are a lot of details on there.
Can you go through?
Oh, sorry.
Can you go through the breakdown of what each of these covers?
Okay.
At the bottom of there?
Sure. Let me go through the breakdown of what each of those covers. So the largest item is the property insurance, and that's the top. It's the top line there. So what that covers is the damage to the building or the contents, and it also has some Warren's Law coverage and other coverages that are they're generally in the property type coverage. There's equipment breakdown coverage that has to do with equipment that breaks down, things like air conditioning units or other items like that. So you have some coverage for that as well. Then we have general liability, employee benefits liability. So that has to do with things like slips and falls. Employee benefits liability has to do with covering clerical errors on either not putting employees onto the benefits plan, like if there's a mistake in there, that covers that portion of it. Educators legal, that covers legal liability out of what teachers do, and also with the board as well, the sort of board D&O effectively. Automobile liability that covers for any vehicle accidents, for damage to bodily injury or property damage to third parties. Auto physical damage that covers the damage to your own vehicles in any accident, or also just let's say like a hailstorm or things like that. There's any physical damage to the vehicles. Cyber loss and liability that has to do with cyber attacks and corruption of data, things arising out of those kind of issues. Law enforcement liability that's included, so that covers it for law enforcement type activities on campus, liability arising out of that. Violent act that covers things, if there is a violent act, that covers things like providing extra counseling and public relations and items like that for that. And then the flood, there is that's the primary flood on those 16 buildings, where it's the first, basically 500,000 a building and 500 on the contents. On most buildings, not on all. There's some that are smaller buildings or that you don't want to take the contents on and things like that. But in general, that's what that provides, and that's through the federal program. And there's some driving training, safe bus, and employee training that's included as well as part of the whole package.
Okay, we're going to cover the entirety of the. You ready for questions regarding the whole? Okay.
Okay. Yes.
I got some questions. It's our page 27, your page 6, where it goes down through the terms and conditions.
Okay.
Item number 4, if this proposal is based on an incomplete application, have we already submitted a complete application?
Yes, that's been submitted.
Okay. Item number 10, wind-driven precipitation is excluded from coverage. From what coverage? Would that specifically have to come under a flood policy then?
No, so wind-driven precipitation is usually included, not usually, it's often is included with the windstorm coverage on a policy. So not on a flood, it's basically if there's a hurricane or hard windstorm event and it's so strong that as the rain is coming down, it's actually pushing the rain through, let's say through the seals on a window, things like that, where things leak in and damage the flooring and things like that. That's the coverage is excluded on this one. It's a fairly common exclusion that's on a lot of policies.
And so that wind-driven precipitation would be covered under our windstorm?
No, it's not. No, it is not covered at all. Because this policy right here, this one, the wind-driven precipitation, this references a property policy, which does include windstorm coverage, but it excludes this particular aspect of windstorm damage.
All right. So a hurricane comes through, everybody leaves and goes elsewhere, and we come back and there's water all over the floor. How do we know where the water came from?
So two aspects of it. So if the wind made a hole in the building, like caused some debris to fly and cause the damage that way, then at that point it's no longer wind-driven rain. It created a hole in the outside perimeter of the building. So at that point, it's part of windstorm coverage. If, however, you come back and there's just water on the floor and it looks like it's seeped in through around doors, around the windows, but yet the doors and the windows are still intact, then that would be the windstorm coverage. I'm sorry, wind-driven rain coverage that is not covered. Okay. Now, as far as there's also ways to tell if it's a flood event. They have their monitors. A lot of places they'll monitor how high the water's rising. So if it's rising water, then it's a flood event. But that would be that part would be covered in the flood policies if you have coverage for those particular buildings.
So is there an actual certain mileage number that would warrant wind-driven rain? So let's say it's not a hurricane and it's 20, 30 mile an hour winds. If water seeps in,
it's not. There's no limit on it. It's not covered. If it just seeps in, then it's basically what the insurance company will consider is more of a maintenance issue that it's a 20 mile an hour wind causes water to enter. That's probably something isn't sealed exactly like it should be. Things like that. It's more of a maintenance issue. So,
Item number 11, it explicitly excludes all flooding, but we're proposing we have a minimal flood policy, and the difference between A and B is whether we want excess coverage on that policy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All
yes.
right.
So that portion here refers to the property portion on the premium summary, and that's separate from the flood policies. It's confusing because you have that coverage based on the FIB policies of those 16 buildings.
Item 16, cosmetic roof damage restriction, ARCRD applies. What is ARCRD?
On that part of it, on a cosmetic roof, generally the cosmetic roof damage is excluded in the sense that this happens often on metal roofs. People have metal roofs, and if there's hail and it puts dings in it, but yet it doesn't actually damage. And the roof, as long as the roof is still able to prevent water from leaking in, then that cosmetic damage is not going to be repaired. Now, if it's bad enough hail to where, like on asphalt shingles, where it tears off some of the pieces and the shingle's no longer functional, then that's not cosmetic anymore. We mainly see it on metal type roofs, basically where people don't like necessarily, it looks like it's hail damage on it, but as long as it doesn't damage the paint and go through it and it causes rust or something like that.
So ARCRD is not anything we need to be worried about.
No, not for a functional use of the building.
All right, item 17, cyber coverage is subject to full receipt of cyber applications. Do we have a separate cyber policy, or is it covered here in the property? Are we good to go in that area?
You're good to go on that. It's part of the same package, but it's a separate coverage form, so it has separate terms and conditions. But you're good on that.
Item 18, the last two, AEP portable and storage, are both listed at 631 East Fordyce. We're not using that facility anymore, are we? All right, we've got a wrong address there.
We still have those facilities, but we're not using them for DAEP.
Multi-year coverage. I don't understand that at all. This proposal includes multi-year coverage terms applied to the PCAT multi. I thought this was all just a one-year policy.
It is. It's a one-year policy, especially in regards to the property piece of it. There are other parts of it that are part of the PCAT program where you're basically signing on to a 3-year, so you can still cancel it, but it's sort of auto renewal where they'll guarantee that they'll offer renewal coverage at those other 2 years. So you're
All right.
But the property that's a 1 year, that's a 1 year policy. There's no guarantee on that.
Automobiles. Liability coverage does not extend to 15 passenger vans while transporting students. And I get it, that's supposed to be school buses and not a 15 passenger van. Are we aware of that at the district level? And follow that pretty exclusively?
That's something that we're gonna need to work with legal on and make sure, is there any type of coverage at all?
So let's talk about that. It's not a hard exclusion in the sense that if you do have a 15 passenger van, the insurance company just wants to know about it and wants to know the year and make and model of that van. And I know for the later model vans, they will lift that exclusion for those specific vehicles. So they just want to be aware of specific vehicle by vehicle. What they're concerned about is having something, let's say a vehicle that might be from the early 80s that tends to roll over a lot more than the modern ones. So as long as we let them know one by one, we can usually get approval on a one-off basis. And as long as we just need to be notified, get that in front of the insurance company, and then they sign off and give us an endorsement that basically says that exclusion doesn't apply to that vehicle. And then we can get a whole list of them.
All right, Dr. Pittsburgh, y'all work that
Yes,
out to make sure, okay.
On that same page, can you look at the 925 West Johnson Avenue, Street? Clayburgh Elementary is showing, but should that be Harold?
I'll be right.
Yes, that's
Mr.
correct. We'll get that corrected.
Okay.
My last question deals with the annual adjustments, and it goes to both your page 7 and page 8, and it references average daily attendance, and I get it. On the next page, the cyber suite, which answered my own question that I asked a while ago, general liability, benefits liability, and educators' legal liabilities, all are going to be contingent upon the number of employees in the ADA. My only question is that ADA differs pretty substantially, like 300 students from what we were just told a few minutes ago.
Go ahead.
Yes, every year I complete a new form through the process where I give the new ADA. So that is the from last year, I believe. So that will be updated, that number there.
I'm sorry, one more. The very last question I have is bottom of the page in the flood section, maximum NFIP, National Flood Insurance
Program.
All right. And so that's the coverage that we have, and the option between 1 and 2 says we want more.
Correct.
Or
Yes.
we don't want more.
Or you don't want more over that base layer that's provided by the NFIP program. Correct.
I will ask one more question. On our, on page 2 or 3, I don't know what number it is. We were given a vehicle schedule that had a bunch of green at the bottom. What is the green for?
Let me pull it up just a second. I believe it's our new vehicles, but let me check.
Well, maybe, all except for 2007 Ford. Well, maybe.
Here.
Yes, those are vehicles that are new to the district, not necessarily brand new, but new to the district. The box truck, that's one that for some reason was left off from the previous schedule. So we were just updating the schedule on that.
So we have one van then, that's a Ford 2003. Do we transport students in that?
No, I believe that that's one of the vans for our air conditioning mechanic security equipment.
All right, thank you.
All right, anyone else have any questions? I have one question.
On this active shooter
Mhm.
insurance,
Yes.
how long have we had this? I don't remember, I just don't remember discussing it last year. Is it something new?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
It's probably been 3-4 years, somewhere around there, that we've had that coverage.
So this is a renewal,
Yeah, yes, we had it last year.
so we didn't discuss it last year. We did, but I don't think.
It should have been part of the proposal, that if it was discussed or not.
Any other questions? All right,
I
then,
do have one, so sorry.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
start on the active shooter quote. Have you, are those also rising, or are they staying flat? What have you seen with that experience?
You know, that one, it's not dramatically increasing. I don't think on overall, it seems like, when they came out with that, it was several years ago that they came out. So they're still trying to, I think insurance companies are trying to actually figure out where they need to land it, just because, I mean, there are more events obviously than before, but it's still, you know, thankfully a fairly rare event. So they're still sort of guessing as to where that pricing should be.
all right, then I suppose the question before us is for the board to approve renewal of either option A or option 1 or option 2, one having a total cost of $1,047,700, one having a cost of $1,153,604. And as I understand it, the major difference is in the amount of coverage we would have in the event of a flood. One would be the statutory limit that is provided through the national program, and the other would be we could buy excess coverage in the amount of $2.5 million.
Yes, that's correct. So their normal flood insurance policy is $500,000 per building for the actual structure and $500,000 for contents. The 2.5 is excess district-wide that could be applied to any building that went over the $500,000. Based on our past history, we believe that the $500,000 for each building structure and additional $500,000 for each building contents would be enough. We haven't had a flood that has caused that much damage as far as I can remember in the district.
Dr. Pitts, in your cover sheet, let me get there. Is there a recommendation made by administration?
Recommendation would be to approve option 1, Mr. Kufel.
All right, board, you've heard the recommendation, the presentation, the recommendation by administration that we renew our insurance policies as proposed under option 1, which would not have excess flood coverage, but would have a premium amount of $1,047,700. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
Option 1.
Motion has been made by Mr. Chapa,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Ruiz. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, we move now to item 7E, which is discussion and possible action regarding the purchases over $50,000. This can be found on page 49 to 50 of our packet. Dr. Pitts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kufal. I did speak with Matt Vetta, and we did ask about this specific van. And again, as Peter Model said, that
It's basically something that just needs to be cleared on an individual basis, and we won't have any problems since this is a brand new 15-passenger van. This was budgeted for when we were going through the budget process last year. The 15-passenger van, it is going to help us to, especially when we are transporting small athletic events such as tennis or possibly a basketball team or the golf team. We would not have to take a full bus to transport those students. So I'll answer any questions that you might have. One other thing to mention is that it will be about 100 days from the day that we order it till the day that we receive it.
Dr. Pierce, is there one breakdown, or we just?
No, we've never had one before, but we really believe that this is going to help us to be able to save money in the long run, because we won't have the big fuel cost of the buses, and we also won't have to pay the drivers as well too. And at the same point, we're always, whenever we have the spring season, we're always short of buses because of all of the transportation, all the travel for the extracurricular activities. This is going to help in that too, where we're not trying to at the last minute having to free up a bus or having them wait to after it delivers students so that they can take students to an extracurricular activity.
But this information was brought previously. You just found them there.
Yes, we finally found the vendor, but since it's over 50,000, we do have to have the specific vendor approved by the board. Yes. Yes.
Do you think maybe we should just maybe check with legal before, because on the liability coverage, it did specify the 15-passenger van?
I've checked with our insurance company. I could check.
I know you mentioned earlier you would check with legal.
Yes.
So.
Well, what we could do, we could approve it pending legal.
Are you
Yeah,
wanting
just-
us to ask about?
Just to ensure
Make sure that it was okay with legal prior to us even purchasing it.
Sure. I mean, what we can do, we can reach out to the insurance and negotiate ourselves and make sure that the policy, the addendum would apply to this. So, but it sounds like you have potentially already done that.
We've reached out to the insurance company and they've said that there wouldn't be a problem, but we haven't
Okay.
necessarily checked with legal to make sure there's any
Because
issues
you
with
did
it.
mention that you were gonna check with legal, that would,
Yes.
we would have to do that, so, and because the policy does state it.
Okay, well, can y'all look at it?
Absolutely. We can take a look at it. We can work with you on it.
But if we wait another month to approve it, then that's another month for the vehicle. We could again approve it pending or on condition of.
But we've already have passed that to purchase one, am I correct?
Yes, we already before the year started, it was under the large expenditures to be included in the budget.
But we didn't know that it wasn't gonna be covered with the new insurance, under the liability portion of it.
We just had the insurance person here from Carlo, and he said that it would be covered, but you're right, we should run it through legal just to check it.
Yeah, I think we need to fix it.
Well, yeah, we could do that, but I also wouldn't get rid of the older vans because
Oh, no.
the older ones are made a lot better than they are now, you know what I'm saying? So
Good point.
Why don't we approve this, or I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the purchase as presented, subject to that no money be expended until we have a written opinion from legal, that could be an email, verifying that coverage will exist if this carries students.
That sounds reasonable.
And I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Kufal, seconded by Mr. Glusing. Any further discussion? That could come as early as tomorrow.
Absolutely.
and that way we don't get delayed further. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
I'm opposing that. I don't, the reason I'm going to oppose this is when we brought it up the first time in transporting students in a van. You know, I feel safer with them in buses, vans. If you just look at them, what happens to them? You know, and God forbid that something happens to our kids in a van. But I feel they're safer in a bus. So, you know, I'm gonna vote no on this one.
All right.
I'll vote no also, until we get word from you.
Yeah, I want to see the written statement first. Or the
All right.
addendum.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries 4-3 with Ms. Salinas, Mr. Garcia, and Mr. Morales voting no. All right, we move now to item number 7F, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of board trustees resolution to employ or accept as voluntary chaplains, Senate Bill 763. This can be found on page 51 and 52 of our packet. Generally, Dr. Sandoval covers all of our policy addendums. He is at a training session, and so I'll be presenting this, and it's no different than what we discussed at our board workshop. But I'll go through this. Senate Bill 763 was passed. It permits districts to employ or accept as a volunteer chaplain to provide support services and programs for students as assigned by the board. School boards are, it says are asked, but school boards are actually required to take a record vote between September 1st of 2023 and March 1st of 2024 on whether to adopt a policy authorizing a campus of the district to employ or accept chaplains as volunteers under the new law. What we're dealing with here is actually a section of, we have existing policy that does allow for volunteers, and the recommendation from administration is that we approve this resolution as I'll read. Whereas section 23.001 of the Texas Education Code permits the district to employ or accept as a volunteer a chaplain to provide support, services, and program for students as assigned by the board. Whereas Senate Bill 763, passed by the 88th Texas Legislature, requires each school board to take a record vote between September 1st, 2023 and March 1st, 2024 on whether to adopt a policy authorizing a campus of the district to employ or accept as a volunteer a chaplain under Education Code, Chapter 23. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Kingsville Independent School District will not adopt the policy authorizing a campus to employ chaplains and or accept volunteer chaplains under Education Code 23, but will continue to affirm the relationship and partnerships with all community volunteers in accordance with existing district policies and procedures. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve this resolution? Motion made by Ms. Salinas.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ruiz. With there being no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. Motion carries 6-1 with Mr. Glusing voting no. Item number 8, the board will now enter into closed sessions in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to deliberate and consider the following. 8A, consider and deliberate regarding the 1-year renewal of term professional and non-certified professional contracts for positions of principals, directors, coordinators, assistant superintendents, CFO, executive directors, and LSSP for the 2024-2025 school year. And 8B, consider and deliberate regarding the 1-year renewal of probationary term, dual, and non-certified professional contracts of teachers for the 2024-2025 school year. And item 8C, consultation with legal counsel regarding legal and personnel matters. No action will be taken until we return to open session. We are entering closed section at 6:30 PM. We now return to open session to take necessary action on matters which the board may discuss in open session and upon which action may be taken. We are returning to open session at 7:07 PM. Item 9A, discussion and possible action regarding the one-year renewal of term professional and non-certified professional contracts for positions of principals, directors, coordinators, assistant superintendents, CFO, executive directors, and LSSP for the 2024-2025 school year as presented in closed session. Is there a motion to approve the listing that was presented?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ruiz,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Chapa. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 7-0. Item 9B, discussion and possible action regarding the one-year renewal of probationary term, dual, and non-certified professional contracts of teachers for the 2024-2025 school year as presented in closed session. Is there a motion to approve the list presented in closed session?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Morose. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ruiz. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Nay. Motion carries 6-1. Let the record reflect that Mr. Glusing voted no. Item number 10, there being no further action that needs to come before this board, I'm declaring this meeting adjourned at 7:08 PM.